Welcome to Right versus Left News, your daily briefing on the stories that matter, told from both sides of the aisle. I'm your AI host, Chris, and each day I bring you the most important political and cultural news, with perspectives from conservative and progressive voices. No spin, no agenda, just the facts and the opinions that shape our national conversation. Let's dive in. Here's what we're watching over the last 24 hours. Airport lines are stretching for hours as the Department of Homeland Security shutdown drags on. A major Silicon Valley player, Anthropic, is suing the Trump administration over an unusual Pentagon blacklist. Florida's legislature is moving to ban diversity, equity, and inclusion programs at the local government level. Senate Democrats are rolling out a small business shield against new tariffs. And President Trump says he won't sign other bills until a strict voter ID package moves. Let's dig in. Before we jump into today's stories, a quick word from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Family GPT, the AI chat platform actually designed for kids. If your children are curious about ChatGPT, but you're worried about what they might see, Family GPT gives you full parental controls, content filtering, and the ability to align responses with your family's values. Whether Christian, Muslim, Jewish, secular, and many more. Monitor every conversation, set usage limits, and let your kids explore AI safely. No ads, no data selling, complete privacy. Sign up free at familygpt.chat.
Thanks to our sponsors for supporting Right versus Left News. Now let's get to the headlines. First up, airports. Travelers in Houston and New Orleans faced hours-long TSA lines, with airports warning people to arrive 4 or even 5 hours early. The partial DHS shutdown is straining staffing, and delays are popping up in other cities as the standoff nears the 3 to 4 week mark. On Capitol Hill, DHS funding is stuck behind other business, with no immediate resolution in sight. Right-leaning outlets are hammering Democrats for refusing to advance Homeland Security funding while war risks and border pressures mount. Republicans argue delay tactics are creating airport chaos and forcing TSA officers to work without pay. Airline industry leaders are urging Congress to act. Left-leaning voices emphasize that Democrats want policy guardrails, particularly on immigration enforcement, attached to DHS money after controversial incidents involving federal officers. They frame the standoff as leverage to reform policy, not a refusal to fund security. Next, Anthropic, the AI company behind Claude, has filed lawsuits challenging the Trump administration's move to label it a Pentagon supply chain risk. The company says the designation punishes it for refusing military uses that would violate its AI safety rules. A federal judge has set an initial timetable as Anthropic seeks swift relief. On the right, some commentators present the Pentagon action as a national security necessity and portray Anthropic as resisting reasonable defense requirements, a needed standoff with a big tech firm that won't support mission-critical needs. On the left, mainstream and tech policy reporters highlight free speech and due process claims, arguing the administration is wielding procurement and blacklist powers to punish dissenting viewpoints on AI safety. Anthropic says the government retaliated against protected speech, with broader implications for how agencies pressure technology companies. Meanwhile, in Florida, the legislature passed a bill to bar local governments from funding or promoting DEI programs, sending it to the governor near the end of session. Supporters on the right argue DEI programs politicize government and waste taxpayer dollars, saying the bill restores neutrality in public institutions. Progressives warn the measure will chill inclusion, constrain local control, and risk civil rights exposure by pulling support from initiatives that help underrepresented communities. Critics call it government overreach that could affect local cultural events and training. We'll be right back with more of today's news after this brief message.
This episode is brought to you by Family GPT, the AI chat platform actually designed for kids. If your children are curious about ChatGPT, but you're worried about what they might see, Family GPT gives you full parental controls, content filtering, and the ability to align responses with your family's values. Whether Christian, Muslim, Jewish, secular, and many more. Monitor every conversation, set usage limits, and let your kids explore AI safely. No ads, no data selling, complete privacy. Sign up free at familygpt.chat.
Thanks again to our sponsors. Now back to the news. Over on Capitol Hill, Senate Democrats introduced a bill to shield small businesses from the bite of President Trump's new tariffs, part of a broader fight over executive trade powers. The legislation faces an uphill path in a GOP-led chamber. Meanwhile, Republican leaders are moving to preserve or defend the president's tariff levers, even as earlier House skirmishes targeted specific duties. The right is split. Populist conservatives see tariffs as leverage to boost U.S. industry and bargaining power. Free market conservatives warn tariffs function as taxes that fall on American firms and families, with research suggesting most costs land domestically. Democrats frame their package as practical relief for Main Street and a push to reassert Congress's Article 1 role. They argue tariffs are fueling costs and uncertainty, and that targeted relief plus stronger oversight could temper price spikes for small import-reliant businesses. Finally, President Trump says he won't sign other legislation until Congress advances a strict federal voter ID and proof of citizenship bill, branded the Save America Act. The ultimatum is rippling through GOP ranks. Senate leaders say they will consider voting legislation, but they're pushing back on changing filibuster rules. The House-passed version would require documentary proof of citizenship to register and stricter ID rules nationwide. Conservatives call it common-sense election security that most voters support, arguing the bill aligns federal standards with state voter ID rules and stops non-citizen voting. Supporters say Congress has a duty to restore trust in elections. Civil rights and democracy advocates warn the measure would block or burden millions of eligible voters, especially people without easy access to passports, birth certificates, or updated documents. They note the nationwide documentary requirements would go further than most states' ID laws and could cut into mail and online registration. Quick recap. Airports are a stress test for the DHS shutdown. Anthropic's lawsuit could shape the government tech playbook. Florida's DEI bill widens the culture policy rift. Senate Democrats' tariff shield spotlights a right-of-center split. And the Save America voter ID push is barreling toward a Senate showdown. We'll keep tracking what moves next. That's it for today's episode of Right vs. Left News. Remember, understanding both sides isn't about picking a team, it's about being informed. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and join us tomorrow for another balanced look at the day's biggest stories. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.